Are these straight guys just lazy? Like, how do you not have time to watch a season? It is so crazy to me that in 2021, there are people still signing up for reality television who can't even be bothered to watch one season of the reality show that they're signing up for. Hello everyone, I am back. Did you miss me? The Bachelorette Michelle Young, night 1. Let's talk about it. And as always, if you're enjoying my videos, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. I'm a growing YouTuber and the likes and subscribes really help me out. Now, before I get started, I do need to go over a couple things. First, if you are new to my channel, this is not a spoiler YouTube page. I am watching the episodes and reviewing as I watch. All of my predictions are coming from me watching the show. I try as hard as possible to avoid any and all spoilers. Next, I am basing my reviews on this show from what I'm seeing on the TV screen. I am not considering any and all outside gossip. Next, if I say I don't see a connection between Michelle and one of the guys, it does not mean that guy is not sexy, hot, smart, or worthy of love. All it means is that based on what I'm seeing on my TV screen, I do not see a connection. It is not a personal attack against that guy's character. I'm just not seeing chemistry between that guy and Michelle. And lastly, if you are a huge Michelle stan, just remember I am gonna critique Michelle fairly like how I do all the other Bachelor and Bachelorette leads. During Matt's season, a few people in the comments said I was way too harsh on Michelle, but I was definitely fair with my critiques. So if you're a Michelle stan and you're looking for a video where I just praise her for 15 minutes, well, this is not the video for you. Go ahead and click off. I'm gonna give my thoughts and critiques on the show like I do every other season. And just because it's Michelle, that's not gonna change. Okay, now that I got that all covered, let's dive in and start talking about the episode. Okay, so the episode starts off with an intro for Michelle, and I really don't have much to say about this intro. First, Michelle's parents are absolutely adorable. We first got to meet them during Matt's season, but now that we're seeing them again, they are still just as adorable as the first time we got to see them. Next, this is being filmed in Indian Wells, California, which is about 20 miles away from Palm Springs. So this is definitely an upgrade from filming in New Mexico during Katie's season, and also, they are gonna get to travel this season, praise God, because I don't know if I could watch another season with them just stuck on the resort. But seriously, y'all, if they were stuck on the resort, I don't know if I would have it in me. Next, the basketball metaphors need to stop. This is the second Bachelorette season in a row that we've had a tomboy, and I definitely wanted more of a girly girl. I want to feel like I'm in a hyper feminine, super girly fairy tale fantasy world, and when we compare everything to basketball, it ain't really doing it for me. And lastly, during the intro, Michelle's outfits were kind of plain. I actually read her for this during Matt's season. Michelle dresses like a school teacher, and I really hope this season she kind of steps it up in the sexy. And I know some of y'all are like,
but Dimitri, she's a school teacher.
Let's be real, y'all. After this, Michelle will probably never teach again. Y'all want to take bets on whether or not she's gonna move to San Diego after this? Let me know below in the comments. So before the first impressions start, Kaitlyn and Tayshia decide to scope out some of the guys on behalf of Michelle. So they go to some of the guys' rooms and chat with them a bit, and they also snoop through some of their stuff. When they did this, it made me feel like this season must be boring or that ABC is trying to find a way to shake things up for the show. Personally, I just thought it was a little unnecessary and very invasive for Kaitlyn and Tayshia to do. Also, if you're a guy and you brought something incriminating in your luggage, that's just dumb. And on top of that, that's more you gotta carry to the airport. Yep, it's that time. Outfit of the episode. Y'all are gonna drag me and I don't care. This week I am giving the outfit of the episode to Kaitlyn Bristowe. Kaitlyn Bristowe is wearing a short black dress with a diagonal cut, sleeveless on one side, and then on the other side it has a sleeve with some tulle and it gives it frill. And I love this dress. And the dress has a slight 80s vibe, but it still really works. And on top of that, her hair is wavy and the earrings are super cute. I just love this look. And don't hate me too much. Michelle looks amazing and her dress is very pretty, but I just don't love the dress. Whereas Kaitlyn, I love this dress. Also, I do gotta give Michelle some kudos though, because she is holding it down for the itty bitty committee. Okay, so now moving on to the guys. So I'm not gonna talk about all of the guys in this review. I'm only gonna talk about the ones that I felt like were interesting or brought something to the episode. First up, I'm gonna talk about Clayton. And Clayton is our next bachelor. Now, that's kind of a spoiler, but not really, because it was announced that he would be Bachelor like a month ago, so if you didn't know that, you've just been living under a rock. So I have mixed feelings about this. Since it was already announced that Clayton's gonna be the next Bachelor, we know he's gonna lose. But in my mind, I'm assuming he's gonna make it pretty far. Also, since he's the next Bachelor, ABC is probably gonna give him a good edit. They're not gonna give him a villain edit, so I'm probably gonna be more critical on critiquing him. So if I seem more critical on Clayton compared to the other guys, that's why ABC is already giving him a leg up. And for Clayton's intro, Clayton gives Michelle a long ruler and then she lets him spank him as his first impression. I thought his first impression was very corny and very inappropriate. ABC, clean it up. Next, I want to talk about Nayte. I don't even want to talk about this guy, but we gotta do it. Okay, so Nayte's first impression was boring, it was unmemorable, I can't even remember what he did. But I do have a theory. I think Michelle has a type, and her type is tall guys. So Nayte is 6'8", which is freakishly tall. And if you don't remember from Matt James' season, Matt James was 6'5", which is also freakishly tall. And Michelle is 5'9", which for a girl, that is really tall. Now, for the most part, in my opinion, Michelle did not seem like she was into most of these guys. But later on in the episode, when Nayte and her had a one-on-one, her overall demeanor and mood changed. She was so much more excited, so much more bubbly. I'm pretty sure she's into Nayte. And I'm gonna go ahead and call it right now. I think Nayte is gonna make top 2. So me personally, I'm not into super tall guys, but I do think Michelle is one of those girls who does gag over super tall guys. And to better explain my feelings on Nayte, I'm gonna go ahead and compare him to Chris S. So Chris S came in on the school bus and he had on the shorts and it looked like a Catholic schoolboy uniform. So I loved Chris S's first impression. He had the outfit, he had the confidence, and he had the presentation. And not only that, he had a bunch of creative, playful banter with Michelle. I loved it, I ate it up, but I don't think Michelle was feeling him. Now Chris S is a little taller than Michelle. He's probably like 5'11", maybe 6 foot. And this is the exact reason why I do not gag over tall guys. I would much rather have a shorter guy like Chris S who puts in all of this effort over a tall guy like Nayte who barely does anything. And this is just coming from my prior experiences from dating, but in my experience, the taller guys tend to not try as hard as the shorter guys, and I personally would rather have a shorter guy who puts in more effort than just some super freakishly tall guy. But as we're seeing from this first episode, it appears that Michelle would rather have a super tall guy over a guy who's actually putting in a ton of effort to win her heart. Also, I think Michelle was in flats or she was wearing kitten heels. I don't think she was wearing a super high heel. Anyways, moving on, that's enough on that. Next is Brandon K. So Brandon K gave Michelle the Mardi Gras beads. Trash. Hated that first impression. Next is Rodney. Rodney came in the apple costume, and when I saw that, I just thought, dude, you could have found a better looking apple costume. Next is Peter. Peter had the pizza pie dough. He threw it up in the air and yelled something Italian, and I love this. It was the confidence for me. Sidebar, Peter kind of looks like a guy I went on a date with last week, and later on in the episode, Peter and Michelle have a one-on-one. He tells her that he's Italian, and they sit and have wine and cannolis. And Michelle says she's never had a cannoli before. How are you 30 years old living in America and you never had a cannoli? Hopefully she's not allergic to nuts. So overall, I do like Peter. I don't think he's gonna win, but I do think he's gonna make interesting television. Next, we have Daniel. He is very cute, and he came in dressed as a firefighter and came on the toy firefighter truck. So I actually loved his first impression. It was really cute, and it was probably the most creative one of the night. And of course, immediately after Daniel, they introduced PJ, who comes in on a real fire truck and outdoes Daniel's first impression. Now, ABC production was so petty for this. ABC chooses the order that the guys are gonna go in. They easily could have had PJ come at a different time, not immediately after Daniel. But honestly, it didn't even matter because I preferred Daniel's first impression to PJ's because I live in the city. You hear sirens all the time and see fire trucks all the time, and it is annoying. Oh, and PJ was fine as hell. He could save me from a burning building anytime. Next is Rick. Y'all, Rick was just creepy, especially during that one-on-one he had with Michelle. I'm sorry if y'all like him, but something about him kind of creeped me out. Next, we have Brandon J. Brandon J arrived on a bed, and I just thought this was super corny. Also, he could have chosen better sheets. And lastly, we have Ryan. For Ryan's first impression, he came in on an ice cream truck and he yelled, "Did someone named Michelle order a double scoop of love?" I just love that entrance, and he also looked really good coming out of the ice cream truck as well. Also, on the beginning of the episode in the intros, Ryan was riding the tractor trailer shirtless, and part of me felt like he should have did that as his first impression, just come in on a tractor trailer shirtless, because that would have been really hot. He looked amazing on that farm. And also, just one last thing before we move on, a lot of these guys looked better in their photos than they did on video. I thought I was gonna be obsessed with Martin, Olu, Clayton, and Leroy, but when I saw them on camera, I really am not obsessed with them anymore. Okay, now we're moving into the cocktail party and some of the one-on-ones. The first one I want to talk about is with Jamie. So Jamie and Michelle have a slight connection, but y'all, I do not think he's cute. For the next one-on-one, I want to talk about Joe. So first of all, Joe looks like the barber from Insecure. Do y'all see it? I can't unsee it. So during the first impression, Michelle tells him that he looks familiar. And then she asks if he slid in his DMs, and she later realizes that she slid in his DMs before. Personally, I thought that was kind of embarrassing. Michelle really should have kept that to herself. Now she sounded like Blake Moynes. So after that exchange, Michelle talks to Kaitlyn and Tayshia, and she tells them that her and Joe had a short exchange in the DMs regarding basketball. So I personally thought that was real sus, but that's the explanation we got. So later on in the episode, Michelle and Joe have a one-on-one, and Michelle confronts Joe about ghosting her in the DMs. Now, first of all, me and Michelle have different definitions of ghosting. So if Joe and Michelle were talking about basketball in the DMs and he stops messaging her, I don't consider that ghosting. I just consider that not messaging back, or maybe he just got tied up and forgot. But Michelle proceeds to call it ghosting and then proceeds to tell Joe that he should have told her that he was not in a good place at the moment. So this is just my theory. Michelle and Joe spoke more in the DMs than about basketball, because it doesn't make sense why Michelle would be this upset because a guy didn't finish a conversation about basketball. Let me give y'all another example. If somebody slid into my DMs and started asking me about YouTube and we had a short conversation, and then at one point in the conversation I just fell off, why would the other person get so upset if we were just talking about YouTube? Like, if that other person asked me on a date and I left them hanging, that would be a reason to be upset. But to get upset over a question that could have probably been solved by Google doesn't make sense to me. So then after that, Joe responds to Michelle and says he did not message back because he had property in George Floyd Square and there was a lot of murders and shootings going on at the time, and it gave him anxiety and he wasn't in the right place. Also, Michelle hit up Joe in the DMs. So just in my opinion, I don't think Joe owes Michelle an explanation about anything. This is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. If someone on the internet randomly hits you up, you don't owe them a response or an explanation. Moving on. So Joe and Michelle continue to chat, and at one point Joe says he was not ready for this conversation. Joe, you spoke to the lead of this show in the DMs in 2020 and you never responded. And you truly didn't think she would bring that up. And not only that, you knew this conversation happened and you chose to still apply to this season of The Bachelorette, knowing she was the lead. And for that, Joe is getting my first not here for the right reasons of the season.
I just feel like you're not here for the right reasons.
And lastly, we gotta talk about Ryan. So Kaitlyn and Tayshia snooped through Ryan's room and they found notes on how to succeed in The Bachelorette and how to get a good edit. Kaitlyn and Tayshia alerted Michelle to this, so Michelle confronts Ryan and they both look at the notes together. Michelle says she's not gonna start off a relationship with red flags, and then she asks Ryan,
"Can I walk you out?"
But it was kind of confusing to me because, Michelle, if you don't want to start a relationship with red flags, then why are you keeping Joe around? Also, at one point, Ryan tells Michelle that he did not have time to watch a season of The Bachelor or Bachelorette. And I'm like, are these straight guys just lazy? Like, how do you not have time to watch a season? And it is so crazy to me that in 2021, there are people still signing up for reality television who can't even be bothered to watch one season of the reality show that they're signing up for. Like, that is so crazy to me. At least make the time to watch one season. And lastly, we have the rose ceremony. I really don't have much to say about the rose ceremony. There was only one upset for me. Michelle decided to eliminate JoMarri. JoMarri was the one who ripped off his sleeves and he had that super deep voice. I was pretty upset he got eliminated. I wanted to see more of him, but also I love a deep voice. So I would have kept him just based on that alone. Also, was this cocktail party all night? When the rose ceremony started, it was morning. And before I wrap up this video, I just want to add a few final thoughts on Michelle so far. So don't get me wrong, I do think Michelle is a good person, but so far, I think she's kind of boring. And I'm kind of worried she may not be able to make it to the finish line. So when ABC announced that Katie and Michelle were gonna be bachelorettes, I didn't want either of them. Like, I get it, the viewers want people who are good people, but at the same time, good people don't always necessarily make the best television. I am hoping that Michelle proves me wrong and she steps it up, but we will just have to wait and see. But y'all, Michelle's confessionals were so dry and so robotic so far. I really hope she breaks out of this shell and breaks out of it real quick. And that is the end of the episode and the end of this review. If you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.